North Carolina A&T hires Vincent Brown, and I legitimately believe he checks all of their boxes. These two things have contributed to Texas Southern's rough start, and Fisk University makes history with their first gymnastics meet. Oh yeah, it's Locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked on HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked on HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics. Monday through Friday, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And now, of course, I'm Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked on HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Don't forget the S on the end if you're on the audio side of things. And today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn, who wants to help you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. And North Carolina A&T has hired Vincent Brown, and you know what? I think he is the perfect choice for them because he checks all their boxes. He has 2 points of familiarity when it comes to this job: HBCUs and CAA. Now, what is North Carolina A&T? They are an HBCU getting ready to enter the CAA. And I know it sounds cliche. It sounds like, oh, what else is he supposed to say? He checks all the boxes. But let me tell you the boxes that I think were the most important, because this is as close to perfect as perfect gets. Nothing is completely 100% the best thing ever. But when I look at what North Carolina A&T wants, he fits the mold. Coach Brown, this is A.D. Hilton. Coach Brown has a significant familiarity and understanding of what it takes to win the Colonial. He has an extensive and proud history with HBCUs. So when I say that Coach Vincent Brown checks all the boxes for North Carolina A&T, it might not be 100 of 100, but the 2 biggest things that North Carolina A&T wanted was familiarity with HBCUs and CAA play. And the reason they wanted that is because they wanted to bring in a coach who they felt they could trust to win immediately. And those familiarities are reasons they think that Vincent Brown can lead the Aggies to success very early. And you know what? I think that's a good premise to base your logic off of. I understand it completely. So I'm gonna give him a round of applause, because is it the splashiest guy that was connected to this? No, it's not Jim Caldwell. That's the splashiest job or the splashiest hire. But I think this is a really good connection. You have connection to North Carolina A&T. The HBCUs, and you have connection to the CAA. These are things that they wanted, they desired, and they got it in their coach. But it's more than just that. He wasn't just connected to an HBCU like, oh yeah, he played. No, he was really, really, how many times can I say really, 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 really good? Like, how many times can I just say that to hammer it home? When he stopped playing, he was the leader all time in tackles at Mississippi Valley State. He was an AP All-American as a junior. 3 straight all-conference appearances. He was a really good player. He was able to take that into being a professional player for the New England Patriots, a 2nd-round pick. So it's not as if he was just a Rudy Poo and he just happened to be there. Some people just happen to play at an HBCU, right? No, he was really good at an HBCU. Now let's look at the CAA play. Well, how's he done there? Has he really been successful, or are you just drumming it up? Because mind you, a lot of this is lip service. A lot of times this is lip service. I don't believe this is lip service. I think this is somebody who truly believes with a lot of conviction you've done it, because he just came from William and Mary. William and Mary was 11-2 this year. They were 7-1 in the conference, and they were co-champs. So yes, when they say he has a significant familiarity and understanding of what it takes to win in the Colonial, I don't think that's lip service. That is an accurate assessment of what he's done on his time at William and Mary. He wasn't the head coach. He was the defensive coordinator, associate head coach, and linebackers coach. But let's look at what he's done on his side of the ball, because, yeah, okay, I don't want to attribute the full team success to him. That's fine. Let's isolate. Let's look at his place of focus. Let's look at what he was able to do. So let's just isolate, like I said, and let's only look at what he was able to do on the defensive side of the ball. He was number one, not only in the CAA when it comes to fumbles forced, but in the entire nation. Number one in the nation in that stat. He was number 6 in the nation in turnovers forced, and then also third down defense. Now, of course, he was number one in every single one of those categories in the conference, but then also number one in red zone defense. So I think that North Carolina A&T can take that. I think that's something that I would like to be implemented in my team. I think most teams and most schools would like those type of stats to translate to their school. The only thing that bugs me is that he's not able to work with Taekwon King and Jacob Roberts. That's a bummer. And when this was announced and I look and I'm like, okay, well, you have a guy who is a three-time all-pro linebacker in the NFL. You would wish he was able to work with that dynamic linebacker duo from last year. That's the only thing. And, it's tough because I do think that King had his mind made up. Because King left before the firing of Coach Washington. And I don't know if maybe there was writing on the wall and people just kind of knew, because you saw Tootin leave right before the firing, but King kind of left a little bit before Tootin. So I think he kind of maybe just had his mind made up that, I'm going to go ahead and enter the transfer portal. I balled out. So take him aside. Jacob Roberts is not leaving if Sam Washington isn't fired. Or maybe even if he knew that, we about to get Vincent Brown, 3-time All-Pro. We about to get William and Mary defensive coordinator. I'm going to come back. This man entered the transfer portal after Sam Washington was fired. And he committed to Wake Forest the day before Vincent Brown was hired. So who knows if maybe he would have heard that news and said, I'm going to go ahead and come back. That was just tough timing. So, of course, you enter the transfer portal, you can always come back. But both of the linebackers did find homes before the coach was announced. So I wish them the best. I tip my hat to them. They had a great season. They had a great career, especially Roberts. He had a couple of good years. And now we'll see what he can do. Because he does know how to coach linebackers. It's not like, he's a 3-time All-Pro and that's it. No, he really knows how to coach linebackers. You look at what he was able to do at William and Mary, and this is another reason you should be excited. The Defensive Player of the Year for the CAA was John Pius. John Pius was the Defensive Player of the Year. He was a first-team All-CAA player, and he was joined by 2 of his teammates on that, by the way. So in total, in first and second team, William and Mary had 6 defensive players, 3 on the first team, 3 on the second team. And they had 1 in the defensive line, 1 on the linebacker core, and then 1 in the secondary on first team. You go to the second team, 1 on the defensive line, 1 in the linebacking core, 1 in the secondary. So on all 3 levels, you had 2 all-conference defenders. Sign me up for that any day of the week that ends in a Y. I'll take it. Who knows? Maybe John Pius even comes over with Coach Brown. Who knows? He got some eligibility left. Wouldn't be the first time somebody followed a defensive coordinator. If that's the case, you back in business. If John Pius comes to North Carolina A&T, that's a big boost because he's going to be working with somebody he's familiar with, somebody who already knows the CAA, and not only already knows the CAA, was just the best defender in the conference last year. That would be an immediate impact player that you'll be getting for North Carolina A&T. But even if that doesn't happen, you still have Vincent Brown. And Vincent Brown is a coach who has shown himself in the conference that you want to be dominating in, that he can lead team success on defense and also buzz some individual stars. Sign me up, like I said. And going forward, we're going to be talking about Texas Southern, who's had a rough start to SWAC play. But if you think I'm going to shy away from talking about them just because they've had a couple of stumbles, come on, man. You don't really know the mouth of the South. I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to tell you the truth. I still think they can get it together. They just have to fix these 2 reasons on why they've been struggling at the start of SWAC play. Before I get into that, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is the #1 place for all of my small businesses. For all my small business owners, if you need employees, you need people who actually fit the mold of what you know you want in an employee and another worker, there's only one place to be. That's LinkedIn, because they have your resume right there. No more sitting down with 15 people only to realize there's none of them who actually fit what you want. None of them are actually qualified. They don't even seem like they know what they're talking about. Go ahead and go to the resumes that are on LinkedIn. Go to him, go to her. It doesn't matter because you're actually able to see if they meet the qualifications. That's the best part about LinkedIn. There's 810 million people, and you can go talk to the people you want to talk to faster. Just post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. And if you use the purple hashtag #hiringframe, one of those people is going to find you, or you're going to find one of those people. It's just that simple. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every single day. Now, for your second listen, we're going to switch it up, guys. For your second listen, I want you to check out Locked On College Basketball. It's everything you need to know about this game, everything you need to know about this sport, all of these schools, not just one conference, not just two conferences, but all of the conferences in one place. Listen on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Matter of fact, same like Locked On Sports Today, wherever you're listening to me right now, type in Locked On College Basketball. We're going to talk a little bit of NCAA basketball right now, and that's Texas Southern, who has been struggling. And I think there's two big reasons that they're struggling. It's free throws and injuries. I'll tell you the truth. I've been conditioned to think everything is going to be all right. I'm still not panicking. If I was somebody who was just looking at the record and I just seen Texas Southern 0-3, I'd be like, all right, we're going to be all right, because that's what they conditioned me to be. Part of me still thinks that. And I don't care what you want to call it. School pride, bias, overconfidence. I don't know. I've been in school, or I ain't been in school this long, but I went to Texas Southern in 2016. First basketball season was 2017. There was only 2 years they didn't win the SWAC. 1 year they had a great postseason run, so basketball was still good. And the other year, COVID happened. I'm used to success. I've been conditioned to everything is going to be all right. But if things are going to be all right, which I still think they can be, it's not too late at all. I'm not like, this is not push the panic button, push the panic button. No, this is just an assessment of what's going wrong. One thing is really in their control, and one thing is sort of kind of in their control, or how they react to it is in their control, but it's free throws and injuries. It's just that simple. If I looked at the 0-3 record, I wouldn't be panicking. But how they're losing does have me concerned. I won't just brush it off. It does have me a tad bit concerned. And I want to go game by game. I will not act like injuries do not play a part in this, but there's also some other things that have me a tad bit concerned. And let's go ahead and start with the Southern game. Now, the talk of the town when it comes to Southern versus Texas Southern this year was the 3-point game winner that Southern knocked down. But we really got to rewind a little bit, because that's not where the story starts. The story ends there. But where it starts is just a couple of seconds before, when TSU missed a free throw. When TSU missed that free throw, the second free throw, they went 1 of 2 at the line. Now it had 2 big-time impacts. The immediate and most obvious impact is the three-pointer beat you. Instead of tying you, which it would have if you had made that extra free throw, it beat you. So, okay, that's cool. But the lesser shown, the one that people might not catch as easily is you missed the second one. So it's not only that you missed the free throw, it's when you missed the free throw. Had you made the second and missed the first, this might not even be the same. But there was no opportunity to really set your defense. Southern got the rebound, pushed the ball, and it was now in transition. And they were able to get that three-pointer basically in transition. There was no setup. There wasn't even enough time for them to set up. There was only, I think, less than 7 seconds. So there was no setup. You push the ball, you get to the 3, you shoot it, you make it half a second is left. But if you force them to inbound the ball, maybe you get to press. Maybe you get to set up some sort of half-court defense to, at the worst, deny a 3, force a 2, chase them off the perimeter. But you don't get to do that because you missed the second one. They rebound it, they push it, and now you're just in transition defense, and you don't do it well. It wasn't exactly a fast break, but it was still transition. It was still running the floor instead of trying to get somebody to set up a 3. It was a one-man thing. It was not a one-man fast break, but one man ran it down the court. He took the shot. It was all him. That's how that missed free throw affects you. It's not only the fact that you missed it and how many points you're up, but it's also when you miss it, how that impacts your game plan, what it allows you to be able to do. I know people might say, oh, well, it happens. And it does happen. And it was a great shot. I don't want to take anything away from Southern. It happens sometimes. I get it. But TSU is last in the conference in free throw percentage by 3%. So, yeah, this does happen sometimes. But this was just the most deadly way that it bit you in the butt. But that doesn't mean it's not going to bite you in the butt going forward. This is a significant problem. You have to shoot free throws better. Not only are they last in the conference in free throw percentage, they also shoot the most free throws. So they're not even using the fact that they get to the line efficiently. They get to the line a bunch. Teams would love to get to the line as much as TSU. And TSU would love to make free throws as much as other teams. You got to marry those two things. I'm hoping TSU is the team that marries it. And the other one is Jordan Carl Nicholas. He's been out. Let me tell you the impact of Jordan Carl Nicholas in these games, because I detailed the first game. The second game, you just got beat by Grambling. That's fine. Against UAPB, they came back from you and outscored you 30-16 to close out that game and able to win it. That's not acceptable. I don't want comeback victories. So the way you're losing is a little bit concerning. Free throws, just bad defense at the end. But those last two games, the points in the paint have went up major. You went from allowing 22 points in the paint versus Southern in a game that went to overtime to allowing 42 versus Grambling and 34 against UAPB in games that were over in regulation. So what are we really talking about here? We can't act like the absence of Jordan Carl Nicholas does not matter. He's been gone those last two games, and you see the increase in points in the paint from 22 to 42 in the game he missed. And that's in regulation. So you had extra time to play against Southern. You didn't even allow that amount to them. Yes, Jordan Carl Nicholas makes an impact. And when I say, well, part of it is in their control, or how they react to it is in their control, somebody has to step up. Somebody has to step up. I know you can't control injuries, and we hope he comes back soon. Don't exactly know how bad the injury is or how long he'll be out. But somebody got to step up. Somebody has to protect the paint, because right now it's looking like open season on the rim, and everybody feels it. And it's not just that's just not how they're scoring now. Or they're scoring more in the paint. No, they're scoring more points. Southern was the lowest points they have allowed in regulation in these three games. I don't think it's a coincidence that points in the paint has went up. Yes, Southern scored more than UAPB, but they also had more time to do it. That wasn't the case in regulation. You tell me what you think, but I think if those two things get fixed and health can get better, he can come back, you can learn how to actually fill that void a little bit better. If that happens, and maybe you start making some more of your free throws, TSU will get it together. Call it blind faith, call it bias, call it school pride. I don't care what it is. I still had that gut feeling TSU is going to get it together, because they have not disappointed me yet. Knocking on wood, because I ain't trying to jinx nothing. And going forward, we're going to be talking about Fisk University, who just made history with the first ever HBCU to take part in an NCAA gymnastics meet. Before I get into that, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. Now, how many of y'all put some money down on that Tank fight? How many of y'all put some money down on him getting it done like that, knocking him out, right? Because that was a fantastic fight. That was a fight that a lot of people were interested to see, because a lot of people love Tank. A lot of people should have put their money down, and if you did, you do it on BetOnline. The playoffs are here. Go ahead and put your money down on the playoffs. Who you think is going to make the run? Can Joe Burrow and the Bengals make that run again? Is Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' magical season about to come to an end? I don't know. We got big games going on this week. We got the Chiefs and the Eagles at home, but you still got some big matchups between the Bengals and the Ravens. You still got the NBA to look out for. So there's so many things that you can put your money down on, but there's only one place that you should put your money down at, and that's BetOnline, where the game starts. That's wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU. Fisk University is making history. And yes, it was already historic when Fisk University created the gymnastics program about a year ago. But it was more than that now. It's more than that now, because it's no longer something that's just on paper. It's no longer something that we just talk about. It's something that is an actuality, is reality. I can actually see it. I posted it on my Instagram. Fisk University of Gymnastics is in action. At the Super 16 Invitational, it's real. I wish I could quote Kurt Angle on here, but if you were a wrestling fan from about 10 years ago, it's real. It's real. And if you're not a wrestling fan, I'm sorry that you don't get that inside joke. But if you are, y'all know where it's going. And something I said when Fisk first started their gymnastics program is I don't think they're going to have a hard time recruiting. Point was proven. Morgan Price came and immediately decommitted from University of Arkansas. Immediately. Said this was a dream of hers before there was even a team. This is something she really wanted to do, but there was just no opportunity for her to do it. And that's what I love about this team. It's an opportunity that a lot of people didn't have at a place that they did not have it. I know it's not like, I don't want to sit here and act like there's just a bunch of 5 stars or 4 stars coming in, but I think that this is something that is going to be a trend for years to come. I genuinely believe they're going to recruit better and better as the years go on. And I don't mean years as in 10 years down the line. I mean, pretty soon, I think they're actually going to recruit pretty well out there at Fisk. And this is a big deal. Everybody knew it was a big deal. They're competing against, in the Super 16 invitation, they're competing against North Carolina, Southern Utah, and Washington. And everybody knew it was a big deal. ESPN's there talking to Fisk leading up to the match or leading up to the meet. And I don't just mean on that day. I mean in practice, getting the story. Everybody's telling a story on it. That's special. We knew what this was. We knew what it meant. Stanford, they weren't even in the meet. I said North Carolina, Southern Utah, Washington. That ain't Stanford. None of those things are Stanford. And Stanford took it upon themselves to invite them or to welcome them, into gymnastics in the NCAA. This is something that everybody around can clearly tell is a big deal. And I'm glad that their peers are supporting them through it. Because it's one thing for us, it's one thing for ESPN to cover a story, but the fact that their peers made a video when they really didn't need to, there was no reason for them to make this video other than the fact that they just wanted to, and just to send love to Fisk and to tell them good luck and to welcome them into NCAA gymnastics and talk about how this is a big deal. It was a short 23-second video. It's brief, very brief. But for them to do that, I thought was very special, and it showed that they understand the depth and the gravity of this situation. ESPN understands it, Darian understands it, Fisk understands it, Stanford understands it. We all do. And how did they perform? Right? In this first meet, because it's a work in progress, it's not a lot of older people on here. It's freshmen and sophomores, a lot of which who have not competed. They don't understand everything that goes into it. This is Coach Tarver's opinion. This is what she said. This ain't me trying to chastise these women, right? It's just, it takes time. It takes time because if you never competed in a gymnastics meet on a collegiate level, who's to say you just gonna step in and crush it every time? No, right? I thought that Morgan Price had a great vault. She actually won the vault. She had the highest score in the vault, and that was one of the things that really made a lot of traction. That was the clip that really went out and floated around because it was beautiful. Right? The flip was beautiful. The landing was beautiful. I'm not about to sit here and try to fool you and act like I know everything about gymnastics. But what I see with my eyes was a flip that looked great, a landing that looked great, and I know you need to stick the landing. And she did that. It was a great sight. It was something that was it felt major. Watching it, knowing what it meant, knowing what was going on, it felt major. And I think they lived up to it. You look at Morgan Price, there's a reason she was a 5-star recruit. There was a reason, and she showed it with that vault right there. But I said it before, it's a work in progress. Freshmen, sophomore, people who are not used to competing, these things are going to take time, and we have to afford them the luxury of that and not take our support away when they're going through just trying to grow. Like I said, I will not try to fool you and make you think I'm a gymnastics expert, but I am a person here with a vested interest in HBCUs and a person here who wants to support. And that's what I will continue to do through my social media and through breaking it down when I can on Locked On HBCU. But I will be watching their story as the season continues. And I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On College Basketball for everything you need to know around college basketball. This is the one-stop shop for that in every single school. You can check it out wherever you listen to your podcast. For tomorrow's episode, we're going to be breaking down Vincent Brown and a couple of more people in that Jackson State quarterback room because it just suddenly got very, very crowded. And I think it means two things. And I'll tell you exactly what it is on tomorrow's episode. In the meantime, in between time, I appreciate you guys for sure. And if you're looking for me, you can find me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.